Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel. James here for today's video on how to pass your upcoming financial accounting, that's the FA or F3 examination. My name is James. If you've not visited my channel before, I'm an ACCA member from the UK and my YouTube channel is set up to help ACCA students around the world with their upcoming examinations. So if you've clicked on this video and you've got the financial accounting exam tomorrow, next week, next month, you are in the right place because I'm going to take you through my 5 top tips how you can pass this examination. My channel is 100% student-led, so feel free to leave any comments at the bottom. Feel free to subscribe so you get access to all of my free videos because today's video is dedicated to Steph, as you can see down here. Steph, thank you so much for leaving a comment in a previous video, and it's been liked and commented on by other students as well, saying, hey James, can you do a video on tips how to pass at the financial accounting exam please? I'm planning to do the exam around March 2021. Well Steph, you are in luck because I'm looking at my date now, it's the 29th of December on here. I'm more than happy to do you a video with my 5 top tips, so if you watch to the end, these are my areas of insights that I'd definitely be wanting you to pick up to pass your examination. As I said, if you are new to the channel, feel free to subscribe, the button will be at the bottom, and comment on any videos you would like me to do. Feel free to give it a massive like as well so that more ACCA students can actually see this video, along with feel free to keep in touch on Instagram and all the other details below. But without any further ado, I think we should get stuck into this as well. So make sure you've got your pen and paper at the ready. I'm going to be going through it bit by bit, breaking it down, and if you follow these, watch the video to the end, you are going to be spot on to pass your upcoming financial accounting examination. So, tip number 1, fundamentally, is your financial accounting exam time strategy. This is an absolutely critical area because in this examination, it is extremely time pressured, and on average, the pass rate for this exam is about 70%. So in other words, 7 out of 10 students will pass the exam and 3 in 10 will fail. And mistakes are made all the time. This is what is found in the External Examiner's Report. I've also done videos on other F3 resources and FA resources that you can access for free, so feel free to check them out on the channel after this. But let's keep going as we go through. So, if you're looking at financial accounting for the first time, or you maybe got the exam tomorrow, you know it's a 2-hour exam, so that's 120 minutes and it's over 100 marks. So that is, as you know, 1.2 minutes per mark. That's the 120 minutes divided by the 100 marks. This is what you see in every standard sort of video and guide and guru, whatever it may be. The exam's broken down into Section A and Section B. Section A has 35 2-mark questions in it, okay? So that's 70 marks altogether, which would equate to 84 minutes. Okay, so just get that jotted down, and this is part of objective test questions that you'll see within some of the study resources. And then you move on to Section B. Again, this is only 2 questions now, but 15 marks each, and there we've got 30 marks altogether, so that brings us up to the total of 100, and allocating 36 minutes on there. These are for, again, key thing to get jotted down, multitask questions. So, that is just a sort of overview as to say, well, if you're going to do 1.2 minutes per mark, but the key insights here are, what would I do if I was in your situation? Well, this is what I would do if I was you and I've got to sit the financial accounting exam tomorrow. Obviously, what a treat it would be. But if I was in your situation, for the 2 hours, this is how I'd break it up. The first hour, focus on Section A. That's it, okay? And I know what you're saying to me, but James, you've just said 84 minutes. That's cutting it down 24 minutes. Hear me out, that's okay. Get it down. First hour, Section A. You'll be able to hold the time a lot clearer and focus on the clock a lot clearer. Then, 30 minutes into the exams, that's an hour and a half in, onto Section B. So in other words, you've lost out on 6 minutes there. Then, you've got to be saying to yourself, right, I've got half an hour left, I'm just going to put it out there to say, well, 20 minutes on Section A, and then the final 10 minutes on Section B. Nice, easy breakdown for you. That is exactly what I would do to break down that 2 hours. Now, for this to work, this is the key critical bit, you've got to practice to time. Because the more you practice the time, the more confident you're going to get with these style of questions, the better you're going to get. And as you're going through, so from that original first hour and the second half hour, so section A an hour, section B half an hour, if you don't understand the question, just flag it on the computer-based examination process and come back to it later in that final 20 or the final 10. What we're aiming on here is to say, I'm answering the questions I know I'm going to get the marks for. Flag the questions, come back later when you've got a clearer mindset on there. So even if you have no idea, you're not going to panic. You know you've got time later to go through with it. There will be questions that you have no idea on. We'll come on to it later in some of the other tips, but all of the syllabus can be tested on here. But this is a technique that I'd be putting into play if I was you. So you've got to stick to that time and stick to that strategy. It's going to come with practice, but you've got to get confident with just saying, move on. And I've picked it deliberately that it's a whole hour to start with, so you'll see the clock tick round, then it's a nice half hour. And what it's designed to do here is so that by moving on, you get a bit more of a clearer mindset in terms of, well, areas that the external examiner picks up on in their external examiner's report all the time is students make so many easy mistakes on this. They don't read the question, they don't understand the answer, they don't work it through methodically as well. So this is where it's absolutely key that we work out a strategy so that we get a better focus, we have more chances to actually check them through, and you may alter this in terms of it for timing, but it's a case of, think about it, you've got section A, section B, sip of water, back to section A, sip of water, deep breath, clear your mind, section B. And what that tells me is another mark here, another mark there, picking up a silly mistake there. That is going to be absolutely critical to find those silly mistakes, especially in that last half an hour, where you've got to have that mindset going into it to say, I've made mistakes here, I'm going through it to actually look for them, I know they're out there, and this could be the difference between me passing, getting a 50 plus, or, which we don't talk about on the channel, the dreaded 40s or even lower. But that is the point of actually splitting up like that. You've got to stick to it though. But the thing is, the more practice you do, the better you'll get at actually analysing the questions. And that will increase your confidence in your actual answers. So you're going to get, practice makes perfect on these things. You familiarise yourself with the actual process, keep going through it, as I said, one by one, put that into play, stick to it, you can have better focus, and by simply just coming back to more and more questions, you're going to have a better chance of picking up on those mistakes, greater confidence in your answers, and when we come on to the points below, that is going to be fundamental as well, that you'll see it all start to ravel in. But that is tip number one, my exam strategy here for financial accounting. Break it up, first hour section A, then half an hour section B, and then whatever the split is at the end, 20 minutes on section A, 10 minutes on section B. The key thing there is section B is harder as well. Get that jotted down. Section B is harder, so that is another reason for those checks. But we're going to come on to that further on now. We've sorted out number one now. I'm happy. We're rocking and rolling. But for tip number two now, and where is this going in terms of it, James? But cover all of the syllabus. Now, I can hear you saying to me through the camera going, cover all the syllabus, James. I mean, surely that's for every examination. Well, lots of ACCA students fall into the trap, and this is one of the reasons why 3 in 10 fail this. And the external examiner points this out in the reports all the time, that they can test questions on absolutely anything. This is why it's really key, as we talked about in the first tip, to say if you don't know it, move on to another one that you do. Flag it up, you can use the system, and you can come back to it. The reason why this is fundamentally key is because financial accounting then links on to financial reporting, so that's F7, the FR paper, and then onto SBR on top of that as well. So the knowledge you have here actually links onto so many other examinations. That's why it's so key, and that's why the examiner tests you on all areas, because what they're saying there is, if you don't understand the fundamentals in financial accounting, well, you are going to really struggle for F7 and FR and for SBR on top of that. So you've been warned. So think about it from a positive light, that not everyone's going to know all the questions on the exam. It's such a wide syllabus, but be prepared for it, that the more practice you do, as we said, covering the whole syllabus, and you're actually saying, I'm probably not going to know all the answers on this, but I'm going to have a good enough go so that I get my 50 plus. And I'm going to quote for you now directly from the external examiner's report on here. So this is important, just so you're aware. So the key thing with financial accounting is to develop knowledge and understanding of the underlying principles and concepts relating to financial accounting and technical proficiency in the use of double entry accounting techniques, including the preparation of basic financial statements. In other words, the foundations of accountancy that are going to link into the actual professional papers and also financial reporting as well, where if you don't get this, you're going to really struggle on the other ones. As we've said, in terms of covering the whole syllabus, it's broken down into Section A and Section B, with the actual objective test questions in Part A. Now, the key thing to get down here for Section A is it's all multiple choice. So you may need to do some workings for this. This is where you really got to be key about splitting it up, and to get the correct answer. So it's going to be multiple choice on there, so you can have selecting answers, but you may have to do some little sub-workings to actually get to that answer in there, okay? That is one of the critical things for Section A, and the external mentions that, particularly with Section B, with the multitask questions, where you're going to have to potentially do some workings and answers now, okay? And Section B, so that we're crystal clear, and the external points out on this that not all students are crystal clear on this, is the fact that Section B is all about the preparation of financial reporting statements, so that's groups and single entities, and by single entities we're referring to actual sole traders and limited company accounts. So make sure you've got that down. Critical note there that loads of people make mistakes on. And you could also be tested on, in Section B, adjustments, incomplete records and interpretation as well. All mentioned in the external examiner's report, but those are the critical notes to pick up on in your question practice. What you've got to do is read the actual ACCA Financial Accounting Study Guide. And because I'm getting better at the editing, I'm going to put a little screenshot up there, and I'm going to put the details for where to find it with my videos analysing it all top to bottom at the bottom of this video in the description. So go check it out. It's going to be really, really important. But the key things I want you to get jotted down, especially on here, are the 8, well, that was 7, James, the 8 key areas of the detailed study guides. This is broken down A to H, 8 in total. So let's go through it one by one. So number A is, well, Part A, the context and purpose of financial reporting. So first one to get jotted down. Second, the qualitative characteristics of financial information. C, the use of double entry in accounting systems. D, recording transactions and events. E, preparing a trial balance. F, preparing basic financial statements. G, preparing simple consolidated financial statements. And H, the interpretation of financial statements on there as well. And to be nice, what I'll do is as well, I'll give you a little copy and paste of it up here so you can see it on the video. Aren't I nice? Well, this is a case of they're the key 8 areas, not 7, in terms of covering all the syllabus. You can check them off, go through that study guide. It is a valuable resource underused by ACCA students, and if I was in your position looking to pass the financial accounting examination, 100% I'd be using it. And of course, watch my video. I've analysed it from my experience as a qualified member, so you've got those insights as well. Because the more and more you practice on these things, the question practice to time as well, covering all the areas, you will be in the 7 out of 10 that pass. Trust me on that, you will be absolutely fine. So that covers us for tip number 2, covering all the syllabus and why it is so fundamental, why it's important with those fundamental areas as well. So now coming on to tip number 3, and this is the financial accounting question and answer technique. So underrated, especially with the way that this exam is structured for students to do. So let's get down how you will be tested. So you'll be tested on multiple response, multiple choice, drop down lists, number entry, and multiple response matching. They are the fundamental 5 things that you need to get down to understand how you're going to be tested on this. The areas where students make mistakes, and it's noted from my experience as a tutor and with the external examiner and from looking at the practice papers online is reading the requirement, understanding the scenario, and identifying what the examiner is actually looking for you to tackle. So key things that you need to pick up on in the actual question practice are the words, the verbs, and the standards. Make sure you get those jotted down. So for example, classic questions that you can see online are, which two of the following examples are true? Or which of the following isn't relating to events after the reporting period? This is all about the wording that under the time pressure, this is one of the fundamental areas why people fail the financial accounting examination. Key things to actually help you out that I found from myself going through the external examiner's report and questions myself is that students who actually jot down, say, timelines or dates actually really help you to picture what is going on in the question. So you can use the scratch pad on there, but remember that scratch pad is not marked. It's all about what you fill in on the actual documents on the computer-based examination, what you actually select as your answer. So don't think because it's marked on there, they're going to mark it. It has to be filled in correctly. You've got to try the specimen exam papers as well, so you can get these through different providers. There are some on ACCA's website, but make sure you do these at the end after you've covered all of the topics, because what they'll do, they'll highlight different areas as to key aspects you need to go back, re-look over, and to underpin your knowledge in that particular area. As we've said earlier, flagging questions, especially on the computer-based system, is fundamental, so that in those last few minutes you can get down a reasonable answer that you think maybe just getting that extra 1 or 2 marks to push you over the edge. Come back to it later when you've got a bit more focus rather than panic. Get those easy marks in the bank. The more practice you do, the better you're going to get at time. So I know it came across as a bit sort of, oh, only an hour at the start and then leaving it 20 minutes at the end, James. Well, the more practice you do, the better you have. And to help you out with this, I've put a link in the description of this video below. All the books I would recommend that you actually purchase, you can get online. There's a little discount on there for you as well. I mean, courtesy of me, but it's a case of utilise them. The more question practice, the better, and they're all up to date. Don't overlook as well reading some of the ACCA technical articles, and as well, to show off my editing, I'll put the actual link of a few up here so you can actually see the screenshot with the description. It's available on ACCA's website, all topical and current areas that will help you understand financial accounting. If you're not from an accounting background, these will help you understand why we actually do financial accounting, who it helps, what stakeholders, and what are the topical issues which occasionally can be tested. Finally, and most importantly from this section, what the external examiner likes to test. And this is something called a reverse calculation question. Came up in the last examination paper and also came up in the external examiner's report, which I've done a video on, so you can go through it, see the example. The link to that will be in the description to this video below. And what it means is, we're going to know the end figure, okay? We're going to know the end figure, but there's an adjustment and we've got to work back in terms of it. Or there's a potential missing value in there. So we may know the closing balance, we may know the opening balance, but we need to find what the missing value is in the middle. And the key areas where they've tested on this in the past are the income statement, ledger accounts, and statement of financial position, utilising the accounting equation that all the assets are equal to the liabilities plus the equity. Make sure you get that jotted down. It's come up in the past, and trust me, it'll come up again. They like testing it. Well, that is tip number 3 on there. That's the financial accounting question and answer technique. If you follow that with all the available options, key resources, practice, all those other tips on there, you will be fine. You're going to be in that 7 out of 10. So let's keep going on, because tip number 4 is fundamental. And if I was in your shoes, make sure you get this jotted down, that these are the financial accounting computer-based examination insights. So from my experience covering various other videos on the channel, where do students make mistakes, hearing the insights from the external examiner as well. These are key things that I picked up from all the documentation online so that you don't have to. So let's get it jotted down. First of all, section B. So this is for the 30 marks, okay? So we said we'd do section A first in the exam, then come on to section B. You need to be familiar with, and this is where students make mistakes on, number entry, Pull down menus, so this is for the titles within the statement of financial position, and multiple response matching. These are the key areas which you'll see in question practice students make mistakes on, especially in section B. It's been highlighted in various different areas. From a financial statement point of view, you're not needing to actually prepare a full set of financial statements for this exam. So you can settle down. Financial reporting and SBR for that. But you have, and well, actually just to confirm as well, and that's the same for consolidation with groups on top of that. But for financial statements, you could be asked to actually input balances, okay? You could be also asked to actually select formulas, so you've got to be careful on that. Go through the syllabus, check all of the maths, see what's been tested before. And other key things are titles that you could be asked on, and actually completing the gaps in terms of that. The only final thing to note down for section B, which again, tested in the past, students got it wrong, could be the difference between a few marks, is for section B in terms of calculation and putting down an answer, you could be asked to calculate the goodwill. So make sure you get down that, because going into the examination to say, can I calculate goodwill based on a few past paper questions? Well, if you can, you're going to be at an advantage compared to other students, because you're going to know about goodwill, you're going to know what type of asset it is, you're going to know it's in the statement of financial position, and it's going to link into so many other key areas. Right, where else have I seen students make mistakes on this? And the next thing is the cash flow statement. So this is again under number entry and drop down list. They're the two critical key areas that you need to be familiar with. You're not going to be asked to produce a full cash flow statement. It's not that kind of exam. Again, that's going to come up in FR and SBR more on, but you've got to know about those titles, number entries and drop down lists. So operating cash flows, financing cash flows and investing cash flows in terms of it for the activities. Get that jotted down. And I've mentioned about inputting figures here, and it goes into the boxes using the computer-based examination format, but this is another area where students make mistakes, and if you do this, well, if you follow the tips, you'll be fine, but these are where the mistakes are made, so that people who end up in the 3 out of 10 who fail this. So classically, the computer-based system says, well, put your answer in the box, and to the side of the box it will say 3 zeros with an S on it. So that's indicating thousands. And say, for example, if the answer that you've got down is, the correct answer is 10,000, and in that box you put 10,000. Well, that is technically incorrect, because you've already got the thousands on the side out of the box as based on with the actual formatting. So you've got to put the number 10 in the answer box. That's the key thing. The computer's already generated the thousands for you. So all you need to put in there is just 10. So get that jotted down, be careful on format, be careful on units, because it comes up on number entry questions all the time. Another area where students get it wrong as well is millions. So it's been tested in the past where it's got millions on the side. A student would write in that example again, they'd write 10, because then it'd be 10 with the million on the outside. But if you actually put the number 10 million in the box, that would unfortunately be wrong, because you've already got the millions given to you. But it just comes with question practice on there. And it's the same with decimals. Be super, super careful, check the formatting, do some question practice on it, because that is another area where students throw away marks and get it wrong. We've got to be putting in the right values, and this is absolutely key, especially under the exam pressure. This is another area where marks are just thrown away, and the annoying thing is that the external examiner and I know that you know the right answer. You've just put it in the actual system incorrectly. So that's another fundamental CBE tip where students make mistakes all the time, and it does come under the time pressure and the exam pressure, but you know how to combat that, and it's simply practice. Coming back onto section B now, another note from the external examiner. For section B, it will be in the context, as we've mentioned, so just to be crystal clear, of a sole trader, that's a normal individual, or a limited company. And you could be tested on consolidation, interpretation, and a tiny bit of accounts prep on there. But we're not going to be going into massive detail about, do me a full consolidation, James, anything on those lines. They'll be picking out nuggets of information to test that you understand the principles of it. So make sure you're aware of all those fundamental areas, what it relates to, along with the actual study syllabus, what's been tested before. Final things have been areas where mistakes have been made, especially when it comes to inputting figures. No commas are required in this examination, or minus signs, as far as I'm aware, at the date of recording this video in 2020 on here. All you've got to simply be able to do is identify the number that needs to be inputted. So the computer system will actually say, oh, well, identify the amount that needs to be deducted from the income statement. And all you'd have to do is simply put in the actual number. You wouldn't need the minus sign. And I'm not sure, I'll be honest on this, if you were to put in the minus sign, I would assume you would get the actual answer wrong because you've got the incorrect figure. But I would be saying, to be crystal clear, read the question, read the requirement, see what it says, and go through the actual process on it. Make sure you have got down the right figure, the right value. It comes up all the time and you just got to get familiar with it. So use the ACCA's questions online, test it out, and you'll be absolutely fine. You may need to, and again, using the absolute form, so as a whole number. So be careful on when it says rounding to the nearest thousand. It will always say that in the requirements if you have to round up or to round down. Follow the instructions. As we said, if you're not required to put in the minus sign, it'll tell you. If it's saying round up, round up. Just follow the instructions, remain calm in the exam, and it comes down to that question practice, as we said. But these are, for tip number 4, my financial accounting computer-based examination insights from my notes. Whew, I know, pen and paper your paper's going to be catching fire going through this, but don't worry, we're coming on to the final tip now. Tip number 5, and that is exam preparation to suit you. Now, this is really critical and key as to, well, first of all, are you actually doing the examination at a test centre, or are you having to do it at home with an invigilator? And again, upon recording this video, both options are available. So if you've got to go to a test centre, you've got to be getting into the right frame of mind, making sure all your stuff's together, how you're actually travelling to the test centre, what you can be doing on the way, all in your preparation there. However, if you're also doing the examination at home, where you've got an invigilator, make sure you've got a correct working environment around you, no distractions, everything that you can have full focus on that exam. So you are going to be absolutely crystal clear, your mind's going to be fully focused on it. I've done on my YouTube channel other videos of ACCA exam preparation from my actual experience and now as a tutor as well, because if you are new to coming to my channel, I have unfortunately failed 2 examinations before. So these tips that I have on my channel are all designed to benefit you guys who watch the videos around the world. So if you want me to do any others, as I said, ping it in the descriptions below. But the key thing to actually get jotted down here is you've got to work out, based on your time, what your available study time is. So if you're a parent, if you've got a full-time job, if you've got other commitments, if you've got care, it could be absolutely anything. You need to work out in your days and in your weeks and in your months leading up to the exam, no matter, well, whatever your time frame is watching this video, when is my potential available time when I can sit down, fully focus, go through the study text, practice questions. That's the key thing. Finding my right working environment, removing all distractions, having a nice area, and again, if you're fortunate enough, to have a deluxe office like this, oh, well, steady on, it's all right, there's only a bit of clutter. But don't be afraid on it as you're going through these as well to make mistakes. This exam is designed so that you make mistakes. The top marks are in the 90s or whatever, but on here we don't talk about that because it's the case of you've just got to work out and work it through as to say, well, what is my question practice and answer technique? So I'm picking up on those key verbs to help me through, to get those marks, to get me 50 plus on top of it. And make the mistakes, and when you get it wrong as well, jot it down on a piece of paper. Really good exam technique here that everyone should have a piece of paper for, writing down which areas they got completely wrong. So you can collate it all together, a really good resource to read, especially on the morning of the examination. There are also study with me videos on my channel so you can actually watch it through, do it to time, and you've got someone to hold you accountable. So if you're there thinking, oh no, how am I going to do this? there is always a will and there is a way. So go and check it out, sit yourself down, turn your phone off, put it in another room, and you'll be fine. Get the blank sheet out, write down where you went wrong, collate all of it together, and that is going to be a mega resource for you going forward. If you haven't already, find yourself a study buddy, because doing the financial accounting exam, it's one of the earlier ones in your ACCA journey. Find someone who you can actually interact with, actually teach them concepts, hold each other accountable, and motivate yourselves as well. So that would be another critical thing in the preparation to say, well, James, are you studying Saturday morning? Are you doing it Sunday? Whatever it may be, that could be the difference between those little marks. And if you can actually teach it to someone else, then that is another really good way to retain the information, especially with the difficult topics in section B. As you said, that is one of the critical areas where students throw away marks. And finally as well, from tip number 5 for the exam preparation to suit you, and I don't particularly hear this much online, but I'm going to say it anyway, and that's the key thing on the exam day, just to stay calm. That's the key thing here, because the external examiner says all the time, students actually make silly mistakes on this because of the exam pressure and the time management on it. And they rush and they rush and they rush. They don't understand what the question is asking for. They don't understand the answers, why some of them are wrong, some of them are right. And that can be the difference between picking up on those little marks that could push you over. So the key thing I'd say, just to get written down now, is expect time pressure. But if you, as ever, fail to prepare on these sort of things, you've got to prepare to fail. So the ball is really in your court. Do as many question practices as possible. Check out the study syllabus, as I've said above. And the more you go through this, understanding those 8 key areas, you're going to be absolutely spot on, so that you fall into one of the 7 out of 10 are going to pass this examination. And relax. All done in one take, as ever. Well, I hope you found that helpful today, Steph, along with other people who are watching from around the world. If you have found those tips helpful, and I'm sure from all the notes you've got down, feel free to give this video a massive thumbs up and a like below so that more ACCA students can see this. As I said, if you've got any other questions, any other videos that you would like me to do, leave it in the description below. Feel free to subscribe so you get access to all of my free videos. Check them all out, leave anything you'd want me to cover, and let me know what you thought of this video, or let me know how you get on with the exam. This could be the difference, where if you get a little 50-51, seeing that in the comments makes my day, because that'll be part of the preparation from this. Well, the final thing I can say is just best of luck with your upcoming financial accounting examination. Steph, best of luck to you as well. But as always, on that bombshell, I'll see you next time. Cheers!